At its height, the largest contiguous land empire in history stretched from the Yellow Sea to the gates of Vienna.
The year is 1281. The Mongol Empire stretches across more land than any empire before it. In 40 years, they swallowed China whole. In 3 years, they burned their way across Russia. In 2 decades, they tore through the Middle East. Their horsemen reached the gates of Europe, and every kingdom that stood against them fell. Persian cavalry, broken. Chinese fortresses, overrun. European knights, cut down in open fields. No army had ever stopped them. Then they came for the Philippines. According to legend, Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan and ruler of the Yuan dynasty, sent a massive fleet to the Philippine coast. 10,000 soldiers, the same war machine that had crushed half the known world. Weeks later, that fleet was in ruins. Not because of a bigger army, not because of better weapons. According to the story passed down through generations, it was because of a defense so clever, so relentless, that it's still told today as proof that Filipinos didn't just survive conquerors. This time, they broke one. By 1279 had already finished conquering China. The Song dynasty, 30 centuries in the making, had collapsed. The Yuan dynasty now ruled the most powerful empire on earth. Mongol horsemen governing Chinese cities, Mongol officials collecting Chinese taxes, Mongol generals leading Chinese soldiers. Looking at the map, Kublai Khan wanted to know what was left. His advisors pointed to the holdouts: Japan, Taiwan, Korea, Vietnam, and a scattering of island kingdoms called the Philippines. Japan was too distant to be worth the trouble yet, but the Philippines, close, rich, fractured into small, disconnected kingdoms. An easy target, they said. So Kublai Khan tried the same move that had worked everywhere else: send envoys, demand submission, and if refused, invade. The Mongols didn't bluff. When Baghdad refused to yield in 1258, 200,000 people were dead within a week. When southern China resisted in 1276, the death toll climbed into the millions. Fear was the strategy, and it worked. Kingdom after kingdom paid tribute in gold and silk, rather than face a Mongol army. In 1280, the envoys sailed into Manila Bay carrying the usual message: submit, pay tribute, or be destroyed. The local chiefs, according to the story, didn't send gold. They laughed. They sent the envoys home with a challenge instead of a payment. Come and try. No one had ever answered the great Khan that way. Furious, Kublai Khan ordered a fleet assembled: Mongol cavalry, Chinese infantry, Korean naval crews, siege engines, crossbows, early gunpowder weapons, and sent them to crush the kingdom of Manila, the region around modern-day Manila, the wealthiest and best-positioned power in the islands. Take Manila, the thinking went, and the rest would fall in line. It was a plan built on everything that had worked before: overwhelming force, fast conquest, total surrender. But the fleet was sailing into a place the Mongols didn't understand at all. By 1281, the kingdoms of the Philippines, Manila, Tondo, Sulu, Butuan, among them, were far from primitive. They'd been trading with China, India, and Arab merchants for 5 centuries. They were wealthy, organized, and long practiced at repelling pirates and rival raiders. Filipino warriors understood something crucial. They couldn't beat Mongol cavalry in a straight fight, so they never offered one. Instead, they used the one advantage: the Mongols couldn't outmuscle the land itself. 7,000 islands, jungle, mountains, swamps, coral reefs, narrow channels, treacherous tides. Nothing like the open steppe, where Mongol horsemen ruled, or the flat plains, where their archers cut down infantry in the open. This was island warfare, and the defenders knew every inch of it. As Mongol warships pushed into the harbor near Muro, small, fast balangay boats, each carrying 20 to 30 fighters, shot out from hidden coves, armed with spears, bows and fire. They loosed flaming arrows into Mongol sails and hurled clay pots of burning oil onto the decks. The heavy warships couldn't chase the nimble boats through shallow reefs the locals knew by heart. Ships lured into shallow water ran aground, where they were boarded and burned. Within days, more than a dozen Mongol vessels were gone, lost to naval guerrilla tactics, not to a rival fleet. Once ashore, Mongol troops searched for fresh water and found a river upstream from the local defenders. Within a day, soldiers were falling sick and fever. The water had been tainted with native toxic plants, not lethal outright, but enough to cripple a fighting force for days. Patrols sent to find cleaner water didn't return. Mongol warfare depended on open ground. Cavalry charges, coordinated archers, disciplined formations. None of it worked in dense rainforest, where horses couldn't move and soldiers couldn't see past the next tree. Local fighters knew every trail, every ambush point, striking from the canopy, from behind, from the undergrowth, then vanishing before an alarm could be raised. The invaders reportedly began calling them ghosts, exhausted, sick, and afraid of the jungle. Mongol soldiers lit fires at night for warmth and visibility, which only made them easier to find. Filipino fighters moved in the dark, then broke the silence with drums, gongs, and war cries, spreading panic. Confused soldiers fired blindly, sometimes striking their own men. By the time the camp organized a response, the attackers were already gone. Feeding 10,000 soldiers required a steady supply chain. But foraging proved deadly. Scouts allegedly planted spoiled and toxic food for hungry troops to find. Supply ships were raided and burned by night. An army that can't eat, can't fight. Mongol soldiers, raised on the dry steppe, had no resistance to tropical illness. Malaria, dengue, dysentery, infected wounds. The local population, born and raised in that environment, weathered it far better. The defenders didn't need to defeat every soldier in battle. They only needed to keep the invaders trapped long enough for the climate itself to wear them down. Within weeks, according to the story, the invasion was collapsing. Ships lost, soldiers picked off, disease spreading, morale broken. The commanders realized the campaign couldn't continue. Important reminder. This narrative circulates widely online as a viral history story, but it is not backed by verified historical sources or records from the period. Treat it and present it to your audience as legend and folklore, rather than confirmed history.